Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and it's time once again for another Shelf of Many Things review. Now, I know I recently covered Labyrinth Lord, and in that review I had mentioned that there was an advanced edition that incorporated rules designed to mimic the AD&D style rule set. Since then, I decided to go ahead and pick up Advanced Labyrinth Lord, the full printing, partly because while reviewing the basic Labyrinth Lord, I realized I was having quite a bit of fun with that system, and partly because I simply wanted a book with a picture of Orcus on the cover. Advanced Labyrinth Lord is a combination product, one that ties both the original basic Labyrinth Lord that mimicked the BX system with its Advanced Edition companion in one volume. The original two parts are still available for those who simply enjoyed the BX functionality or prefer the two-volume setup, but the Advanced Labyrinth Lord volume combines the tool rule sets and reorganizes the content so that it is presented in a consistent, single-system format. It does take pains to present most of the Advanced Edition rule sets as optional rules that plug into the BX-derived core, but are otherwise listed in line in the appropriate sections. As Advanced Labyrinth Lord uses a product I've already reviewed as a base, I'm going to treat this review merely as an extension of that one, at least when addressing content, and I'm going to skim over those particular elements of the Labyrinth Lord system that remain the same, and quite a few of them do, while noting those differences that particularly stand out. I encourage you to go back and watch that review now if you haven't already, and I'll try to put a link or a card up where you can go ahead and click it. In terms of physical elements, Advanced Labyrinth Lord is available as a print-on-demand book. I got my copy through DriveThruRPG. It comes in two cover styles, one featuring a dragon and the other featuring Orcus, and it has a full-color cover art with black and white interior print and art throughout the book. There is about 265 pages split into two books within the same volume, with a couple pages for ads and other products in the back. Interior layout and artwork is of identical style to the basic rules, with two-column text presented under clearly readable headings, peppered with occasional black and white artwork reminiscent of the older edition games, some of which is actually recycled from the BX version, since there's basically two volumes tied into one. The contents of Advanced Labyrinth Lord are arranged in 9 sections, split across 2 books within the same volume. The player's book is the first 5 sections necessary to make characters and to actually play the game. Section 1 is an introduction, Section 2 examines characters, Section 3 covers spells, Section 4 covers general adventuring rules, and Section 5 covers encounters and combat rules. The referee's book includes a balance of sections in the volume, with Section 6 covering monsters, Section 7 covering treasure, Section 8 dealing with referee lore such as adventure design, and Section 9 is a collection of rules options. Onto each section, the introduction simply gives a quick rundown on the role-playing games and basic talk about dice and terms, same as the basic rules. The character section starts with character abilities, which are largely identical in both generation and bonuses to the core Labyrinth Lord, but include extended ability information suitable for the advanced rules. For instance, Dexterity now offers adjustments to Thief skills, Constitution offers Res Survival and Transformative Shock Survival, while Intelligence now is used to determine how magic users learn spells and how many they can learn per level. Character classes start with the core classes from Labyrinth Lord: the Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, Thief, Elf, Dwarf, and Halfling. But the section then covers actual standalone races, which include humans, dwarves, elves, and halflings, but also gnomes, half-elves, and half-orcs. Not as classes, but as standalone races, as I mentioned, that you'd expect in any advanced rules and later derived system. The individual referee can decide whether or not to keep the original race classes, and there are rules given to allow for classic multiclassing that include certain of the basic race classes as options. Advanced classes are also given, including assassins, druids, illusionists, monks, paladins, and rangers. These advanced classes are given full write-ups equivalent to the basic classes, including their own description of abilities, experience levels, and so on, but also include requirements and any maximum level that they may have. Those familiar with AD&D should note that there are some differences in a few abilities as well as in general hit dice. The hit dice of advanced classes are listed on par with the basic classes, which tend to be lower compared with their AD&D counterparts, more akin to the BX option. There is an optional table of advanced hit dice, however, that restores the full hit die total to each class. There's also a distinct difference in experience per level scaling from the original game. They follow entirely different tracks than the AD&D system, as the Labyrinth Lord classes seem to be adapted to a level progression that's more similar to the BX rules, even if they're using the advanced classes. Secondary skills, a la AD&D, are presented as an optional rule, and the alignment system preserves the Labyrinth Lord Law Chaos axis, but also adds a Good-Evil axis as a purely optional rule, following the format of keeping the advanced rules as modular add-ons. Rules for character languages and optional aging rules are given, followed by aforementioned rules for multiclassing and race classes, before the chapter delves into equipment. Now, equipment is presented in tables that include all gear from the core Labyrinth Lord, but also additional goods from the Advanced Edition companion, making for a generally more robust equipment list that makes no distinction between which source the gear came from. Section 3 covers spells, including the idea of reversible spells, which kept the core Labyrinth Lord lists relatively brief. The spells are described with a simple level, duration, range, and then overall description, and maintain the old-school power levels presented in the core rules. The spells are broken down by class and listed alphabetically, although I feel that there should have been some notation on the individual pages to tell what class those spells belong to. As it is, you have to keep track of which list you're looking at. Just for ease of flipping through the book, that makes a huge difference. This is followed by two sets of spell lists. One is a simplified basic list for basic Labyrinth Lord clerics and magic users / elves. Then there's a more extensive advanced list that not only lists the spells per level for druids and illusionists, but also expands the basic cleric and magic user spell lists, giving them additional spells for their respective levels. Section 4 covers the adventuring rules, largely following the core Labyrinth Lord rules layout, starting with assembling adventuring groups, covering movement and time rules, vision and carrying capacity rules, rules for handling stuck and secret doors, and general trap detection. Rules for wilderness adventures follow, with movement in the wilderness, getting lost, dealing with foraging, swimming, air and water travel, and so on. Rules for hiring retainers and mercenaries are as they were in the core Labyrinth Lord rules, and the chapter concludes with experience rules that are exactly as they were in the core book. The encounter section covers the overall play sequence when in encounter mode, rules for surprise and initiative, then movement, then combat rules that are largely as they were in the core Labyrinth Lord rules, meaning that they resemble the BX rules, so relatively simple all in all. They go on to cover seaborne combat as well as basic examples of combat in general. For more detailed information, do refer to my review of Labyrinth Lord's basic rule set. The few pages between the player's book and the referee's book include attack tables for characters and monsters and a blank record sheet. The referee book starts with a section on monsters, and this, like the equipment table earlier, actually compiles all of the monsters from both core and advanced editions into one long list, undifferentiated by source. It should be noted that there's guidelines given for how to determine whether the monsters are common or rare in a particular area, and whether they are encountered in their lair or not, but the individual monsters listed do not actually have those numbers explicitly lined out. It is left for the referee to determine, and seems to be provided to mostly give you a handle on compatibility with AD&D rules. Monsters are listed in a format identical to the core rules, with number encountered, alignment, movement, armor class, hit dice, attacks, damage per attack, save table, morale rating, horde class, and experience value, all followed by a description of the monster itself. The list of monsters is indeed more extensive than in the core system, and includes a number of both more challenging monsters and monsters with more complex abilities. The specific monsters tend to include a lot of generic creatures and creatures of myth, but also amusingly a few close to product identity but not quite substitute monsters for use in dungeons when you want to use that classic D&D monster, but it's not open gaming content. There's also differences in monster attack, damage, and experience values that once again seem to follow a more basic D&D BX system than an AD&D progression. The chapter concludes with the classic wandering monster tables, or at least examples thereof. Chapter 7 covers treasure, and like the core rules, Advanced Labyrinth Lord uses treasure classes that are similar to, but not duplicate from, the treasure classes in classic AD&D. Aside from that, the magic item tables seem to have been expanded from the core rules to cover the wider array of magic items available in the advanced rules. This is most evident in the rods, staves, and wands category in the miscellaneous magic items table, as the advanced edition includes a ton more miscellaneous magic items. It's interestingly to point out that there's actually items on there that appear twice, one in a basic format and one in an advanced format. For instance, some of the wands have both Wand of Lightning and Wand of Lightning bolts, representing the two systems they originated in. Again, like monsters and equipment, Advanced Labyrinth Lord seeks to make no distinction between sources, whether the item came from Core or Advanced Edition Companion, it's all listed together. The treasure section concludes with the Sapient Sword rules from the Core, just a restatement. Section 8 is the referee lore section, which includes a smattering of ideas about various aspects of GMing the game. It is point for point identical to the core Labyrinth Lord at first, covering labyrinth design and stocking tables, going on to covering groups of NPC design that incidentally only covers the basic classes, offering no advanced classes. Wilderness design and wandering monsters, magic research and stronghold building are then all covered. It goes on over various specific situational device like level disparity between characters and dividing treasure and so on, then includes the same sample stock labyrinth covered in the core rules. It does, however, include a gamebook-style solo adventure, The Sorrow of Broken Vale, to help people who are totally new to dealing with the game to play through it. The section concludes with a few more samples right out of the core book. Section 9 includes rule options, which is where most of the new combat rules come in. Advanced Labyrinth Lord gives rules for extra attacks for fighters and warrior classes, rules for attacking helpless characters, parrying, subdual damage, and dual wielding. There's rules for dealing with poison, for dealing with stuns and paralysis, additional types of vision, a potion miscability table, that's always a good thing, guidelines for humanoid spellcasters, and then a stripped-down version of the Great Wheel to show a sample cosmological setup. The section then concludes with a number of random tables, tables for dungeon dressing, for random container contents, NPC professions, and the not-so-random table of monsters divided by hit dice, and it's here that they're actually noted whether the monster is from the Advanced Edition or not, so that the particular referee can decide how they want to approach that. So overall, what do I think about it? Well, in terms of organization and editing, I think Advanced Labyrinth Lord is done quite well. Rules are easy to find, and the writing is written with a pleasing clarity that makes even complex rules easy to understand, at least from my point of view. I will admit that I'll probably be parking a bookmark in the middle of the book semi-permanently, just to mark the table of contents from the referee section of the volume, since the table of contents is split between the two halves of the book, and you have to flip halfway down there to get the referee's one. Other than that, there's a few ways to look at Advanced Labyrinth Lord. As a retro clone of AD&D, or as a way to play AD&D written modules, and then as a standalone game on its own with its own merits. As a retro clone of AD&D, Advanced Labyrinth Lord falls a bit short. It gets the job done in terms of having similar rules and scope, but if you're really looking for a close approximation of AD&D rules, it's probably not going to cut it. In part due to the changes in the rules themselves, and in part due to the way that it's scaled more towards a BX game in terms of experience points and damage. Where Labyrinth Lord excels, though, is as a means to play AD&D style content, with appropriate changes here and there, of course, or to play an entirely new campaign with similar stylings, but with a more straightforward and easier to follow presentation. Basically, Advanced Labyrinth Lord is very much like playing Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, but with a BX resolution engine, whether it be combat or skills. The Advanced Edition content includes enough rules to act as a sort of interface for the much easier to understand and far easier to run combat system. Characters tend to be a shade less powerful than their true AD&D counterparts, but not so much as to really make a serious difference, while some of the rules that weren't duplicated in Advanced Labyrinth Lord can easily be house-ruled in, or were too complex that a lot of people didn't really use them anyway. And trust me on this, the AD&D First Edition books are like that. They have tons of rules that a lot of people just ignored. And that makes all the difference. If I wanted to produce a new group and introduce them to AD&D style gaming from the ground up, they'd never played it before, Advanced Labyrinth Lord will at least get that same look and feel while being far easier to teach and run. Labyrinth Lord has been around for a while now, as has the Advanced Edition Companion, so I'm finding my opinion of the combined system as a whole to be actually much improved by this single volume book. And the fact that you can still run Labyrinth Lord basic games out of this book by disregarding the advanced content is just a bonus, so you're effectively getting the two books in one. I haven't really ranked my favorite OSR systems yet, but Advanced Labyrinth Lord is quickly rising in my estimation, Its flexibility is as much a benefit as its simplicity, and I have to toss this one into my highly recommended pile if you're into OSR games. And on that note, I'm going to wrap up this review here. I will be covering more retro clones and other OSR stuff coming up, so keep an eye out, though I will be sprinkling in some other indie games and so forth. As always, I'll toss a link to where you can purchase this in the description below. This has been the RPG Crawler with my review of Advanced Labyrinth Lord. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye.